Hello guys, I'm NitRam and today I'm going to show you guys how to make the Xbox One Kinect work for the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. And for this modification you're going to need the USB 3.0 A to B male-to-male connection. You're also going to need a 12 volt 3 amp DC adapter that goes up to 36 watts that you can find on eBay or Amazon. You're also going to need a soldering iron and a bit of solder, including a screwdriver with a TS10 Torx screwdriver head. So to start, we're going to give the wire at the back of the Kinect a really good wiggle and a really good pull, because they are pretty tight. And once you've pulled that out, we're going to start to unscrew the Kinect. Now this is going to be where you need the TS10 screwdriver head. You can buy these little multi-kit screwdrivers from Walmart or Asda. They're usually £1 or $1 if you're American, and the screwdriver sets are pretty handy for stuff like this, to be honest. So they're definitely worth an investment. So we're going to proceed to remove the screws. There is two types of screws. You have the short ones, which I'm removing now, and then you have longer ones that hold the Kinect together. The base screws are just holding the bottom plate onto the bottom of the Kinect, and you'll see the four longer screws coming out in just a moment. So now that we've removed the shortest four screws, we now have to remove these other four screws, which are the longest ones. So the ones that I'm pointing out, you just need to remember to put them back in the same holes when putting the Kinect back together, because pretty much after this step of removing this bottom plate, the Kinect pretty much unclips apart, as you'll see in the video as I take it apart. I could have fast forwarded this clip, but obviously I wanted you guys to see how I take the Kinect apart, because it's going to be a bit useless if I show you how to make your Kinect work on the Xbox One S and X, but not show you how to take it apart in the first place. If you do struggle to take out a screw, you can use a slightly smaller flat-headed screwdriver and sort of jam it into the screw head, and that will also take the screw out. As you can see, it's a very small flathead, but it does work. So now we're going to remove the back plate. So what you want to do is pull the stand forward slightly so it gives you leverage. Then you can lift up the back plate, it pretty much falls off. And once that's removed, place the camera face down, push the top plate forward and pull out the side plates. They do just slot out, so you shouldn't have any problems. You just need to give the top plate a bit of a push. And then once you've done that, you need to locate two more screws that are also TS10 heads at either side of the Kinect. That's basically holding on the camera lens cover. Now they are a bit fidgety to get to, but if you put the screwdriver in at a bit of an angle, you should be able to unscrew them no problem, because they're not very tight. They do come undone quite easily. Don't worry if you put these two screws that you are removing from the camera lens with the rest of your screws, because they are the same size and same length as the smaller screws that hold on the Kinect backplate. If you do wish to separate these two screws from the rest of the pile, feel free to do so. I do things like this because I like to have like a blueprint in my head. I'll take a set of screws out of one area, put them to one side, I'll take screws out of another area, put them to another side, and then that way when it comes to putting stuff back together, I can put them back together with the screws in the order that they was removed. I just find it a bit easier to do that. Now that the screws are removed, what you're going to do is pull the camera lens cover forwards away from the frame, and because the top plate is also attached to the camera lens cover, you might need to give that a bit of a wiggle too. Don't overdo it. It is a bit tight to separate, but don't overdo it. Now the reason I haven't told you to remove the top plate first is because it's clipped to the camera lens, and some people that remove it that way end up breaking the clips, and when you put it back together it's not as sturdy as it once was. But by doing it this way, you'll be able to separate the two plastic pieces after you've taken them off the Kinect itself. But if you do break the plastic clips, it's not the end of the world. The Kinect will screw back together, no problem. It's just I like things to be done properly, so you'll see what I mean by taking them apart once I've removed it from the Kinect. So after a bit of gentle persuasion, it does actually pop off, look, just so you can see there, look. And here I'm just going to show you the clips that I was talking about. So you've got a bit of tin. The tin covers the clips. Basically what you want to do is pull the tin back, expose the clips, get a little flathead screwdriver, put them underneath the plastic clips, and you should be able to just pop them open. It's a bit like a plastic zip, if you like. It sort of hooks in and you've got to pop the plastic back to unclip it. It's self-explanatory. I know I haven't zoomed in here to show you guys, but you will see it up close in person, and it's very simple to do. And as you can see there, look, pop the clips up, and all you want to do is bend the tin back. Once you've unclipped it, just bend the tin back and then put them to one side. It just makes the procedure of putting it all back together a lot faster. So now that we've taken apart the Kinect to the point that we need it, we're going to now get the DC adapter. As I said, it was a 12 volt 3 amp 36 watts DC adapter. You can find these on eBay and Amazon as well. They're about £5 or $5, and you're going to get some wire snips and just cut the head straight off. We don't need the connection for it because we're going to be soldering the wires from the adapter to the circuit board of the Kinect. How you choose to strip the wires down is entirely up to you, but I use my teeth. I just find it quicker. It's probably not hygienic, but I find it quicker than trying to find some wire shredders or whatever they're called and then peeling off the plastic or rubber housing that surrounds the wires. Once the power supply has been prepared, we're then going to pick the Kinect back up, and the part where the original power cable went through for the Kinect, we're going to use that hole to feed through the new power supply. The hole in question is located at the back of the Kinect where the fan is, and you'll see in a second where I show you to pull it through. We're going to be soldering right where my fingertip is right now, and this is how you feed it through. So lean the Kinect forward towards you with the fan facing away from you slightly, and try and feed the wires underneath the tin that's beyond the plastic frame of the fan. You'll see what I mean here, look. So I'm just going to move the tin out of the way with my pair of pliers, look, and as I do so, that allows me to pull the wire underneath the tin to be between the circuit board and the tin itself. That way it doesn't get trapped between the plastic casing when we put the Kinect back together later on in the video. Once the wire's pulled through underneath the tin, we're then going to move on to soldering the wires to the circuit board. The picture on screen now shows you where to solder the wires. Don't be alarmed if your power supply doesn't have a red wire, it may be yellow or white. That will always go to the number 10 and black will always go to the ground connection. Be very sure that you've only soldered the black to the ground and the power wire to the number 10. Make sure that they're not touching any other pins, otherwise it can break your Kinect. Once you're happy with your soldering job, get some electronic tape to put over the soldered areas, because you don't want excess solder touching the metal casing inside the plastic housing for the Kinect when you put it all back together. If you don't have any electrical tape, use 2 or 3 layers of sellotape, and what this will do is insulate the soldering that you've done from the metal housing of the Kinect when you put it all back together. Once you're happy with that, you want to get your USB 3.0 A to B male-to-male connection, and you want to plug it into the same hole that you've also fed the power cable through. Now it is as simple as plugging in a USB cable into a USB port, and the thickness of the cable will actually support the power cable and hold that in place too. Doing this will prevent the power cable from moving around as you're putting the Kinect back together, essentially stopping your wiring and soldering that you've done from potentially breaking as you're putting the Kinect back together, because obviously the more movement that you have in the power cable, the more it's going to put wear and tear on the wire that you've just soldered into place. So as you can see here, the USB cable is supporting the power cable as I'm putting the Kinect back together, and what you want to do is put the front fascia on first. Make sure that you clean the glass or the lenses first before you put it back together. You don't want a bit of dust getting inside the lens, it's annoying. Once you've done that, you screw the 2 screws in either side. You then slot in the 2 side pieces of plastic that also have metal cases. They do slide into place, so it's very easy to put them on. Once you've done that, you should be able to then clip the metal casing back on top, and you'll see in a second. It's very, very straightforward, and this is why I wanted you to not break the clips when you was taking it apart, because when you put it back together here, just make sure that your sellotape or electronical tape is in place still before you put the plate down. When you're putting it in, it does click and pop into place. Just make sure that all of the tin inside the plastic frame is overlapping the necessary areas that they're supposed to overlap, because you don't want to trap any. And then once the top is all in place and pushed down properly, flip the Kinect upside down, and then it's just a case of putting the back plate back on. The bottom plate of the Kinect is very easy to put back on because it doesn't have any excess metal plating that you need to avoid, so it's just a case of slotting it into place, pushing down on the casing whilst you do so, and then applying the screws. So you want to put the long screws back in first, going into the 4 holes in a line from left to right, as you can see here. And once them long screws are all in their holes, there's only 4 screws remaining and 4 possible holes for them 4 screws to go in. So yeah, this part of the video here is speeded up, and it's just me tightening up the long screws, and then once I've tightened up the long screws, I'm going to put the 4 last short screws into their holes. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to stay around for the last minute and a half of the video, it's just me showing the Kinect working. It will go straight from me repairing the Kinect to plugging it straight into the Xbox One Scorpion, and then obviously turning on the TV. If you're wondering why the grill's missing off the back of my fan, I recently removed the grill because I wanted to clean the dust out of the Kinect so that it could breathe easily, and I couldn't be bothered to take the Kinect apart to clean it. It still looks a bit dirty, but you know. But yeah, it works fine. It's a very easy way to clean out your Kinect when it fills up with dirt, because you can just get a paintbrush, a dry paintbrush obviously. You don't want to use one that you've just took out of the deluxe tub, and just give it a bit of a brush around, and it'll take all of the dust out of the Kinect for you, stopping it from overheating and intermittently cutting out. So here's the straight up demonstration of the Kinect working. I did have to turn the camera flash off, that's why there was a bit of a fade then. But the Kinect is powered on, look, as you can see. And I've got the camera running at the same time, whilst recording the capture of the screen to show you guys that it does work. And now I didn't realise that you couldn't plug the Kinect into the USB port at the front, but that's what I find out here. If I go to the Kinect, it tells me I've got to plug it into the back, so that's what I do. So I turn off my camera that's using to record to show that it is the Kinect that's plugged in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I turn my camera off because I can't do 2 things. I can't record and start unplugging wires and plugging them in. Pull my Kinect out, pull my Xbox out, and there you go, plug the USB port straight into the back, and the Kinect is up and running. So there you go, it's cost you £10 or $10 to adapt your Kinect to work with your latest console, as opposed to buying one of them idiotic adapters that Microsoft expect you to buy. Anyway, that's me done. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the rebound.